Let's start with the big story of the day. As far as the West Asia war is concerned, we're learning that a statement has come in from Iran's parliament speaker on the ceasefire and the negotiations with the United States. He has said that Iran does not trust the United States and believe that it will resume attacks at any point in time. So Iranian armed forces are in the field fully prepared. He further said that the Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's control and US decision to blockade Iranian ports is foolish and ignorant. If US does not lift the blockade, he said the traffic in the Strait of Hormuz will definitely be restricted. That's the latest statement that has come in from Iran's parliamentary speaker. Let me get you more perspective and go across to our consulting editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary. Good morning, Srinjoy. Concern and confusion of the Strait of Hormuz continues. One day it is open and closed the other. It has to do with the naval blockade that has been put in place by the United States. Give us the update as far as the key waterway is concerned.
It's a very confusing situation. It's open one day, shut the next day, open the day after, shut again. So it is very difficult for shipping companies, for shipping captains, and countries themselves. Nobody knows exactly what is going on. And clearly, the reason for this is the war. Is the war on or is it off? Is there a ceasefire or is this just the semblance of a ceasefire? There are too many questions and very few answers. First of all, the Iranians say that if America continues its naval blockade of Iranian ports, then all of the Strait of Hormuz will be blocked. And that is already underway, which means that this very important waterway will be blocked. And 20% of the world's energy, as you know, goes through that waterway. If that is so, it is very difficult for the world, particularly India, China, Japan, and South Korea, and many other countries. So this is where it stands. Now, how are you going to solve this? First of all, some diplomatic efforts are underway. But the Iranians are making it very clear that there may be mines there, and if the Americans, and if the American Navy's minesweeper tries to clear the area of mines, then the Iranians will strike back. So threat leads to counter-threat, leads to further threats. So all of this is extremely confusing and, much more importantly, very dangerous. So the more there is a confrontation and leading to more confrontations, the problem is peace will be difficult to secure. Already you have a ceasefire that is very tenuous, and it's beginning to fray at the edges. Now, how this entire problem is going to be resolved is hard to explain, because first attempts at a ceasefire failed. First attempts at any diplomatic solution failed. Now, there is another effort, possibly in Islamabad in the near future. Now, is it going to succeed? With all this happening, we don't know.
Absolutely, and also the ceasefire deadline that is approaching fast. The deadline is on April 22nd, in just another 2 days. And amid that, the concerns and confusion of the Strait of Hormuz, as my colleague also pointed out, one day it is open and closed, the other day is what we're learning so far. Let's get you more details, because a lot has happened over the last 24 hours. The United States has denied ending restrictions on the ship moving to or from Iranian ports. IRGC, on the other hand, has said that Strait of Hormuz will remain under their full control. So let me tell you what has happened over the last 24 hours. It was Iran first that mentioned that the Strait of Hormuz is completely open, and that was a social media statement that had come in from Iran's foreign minister. And few minutes later, there was a statement from Donald Trump confirmed, and he also said that the Strait of Hormuz is open, but there was a condition: the U.S. naval blockade will continue and will remain in force. And now what we can see today is that Iran has said that as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned, it is tightly under their control, under their military control, is what we are learning. So that is what has happened over the last 24 hours. The tensions in the Strait of Hormuz are not limited but widespread. 2 Indian-flagged vessels were fired upon by Iranian Navy and forced to return from the Strait of Hormuz in the last 24 hours. One of the 2 vessels involved is a very large crude carrier, that is VLCC, carrying nearly 2 million barrels of Iraqi oil. And following this incident, India summoned the Iranian ambassador, conveyed the deep concerns. MEA noted that the importance India attaches to the safety of the merchant shipping and mariners, and recalled that Iran had, remember, earlier facilitated the safe passage of several India-bound ships, and repeating concern over the serious incident of the firing on merchant vessel. The Foreign Secretary urged the ambassador to convey India's views to the authorities in Iran, and also to resume at the earliest the process of as far as the passage of India-bound ships across the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. MEA also added the ambassador undertook to convey these views to the Iranian authorities, is what we are learning so far. In fact, as you can see on the visuals as well, in the last 24 hours, 2 India-bound vessels, they were stopped in the Strait of Hormuz, but India has conveyed deep concerns over that. We have a breaking update coming in as far as the war